Today I'm going to show you how to paint a realistic horse's eye in watercolour. So let's get the brushes wet and let's get started. Now the first thing you need to do is obviously get the outline drawing onto the paper. And I'm using graphite back paper, which is this stuff here, look, so it's shiny side down. Slide that between the printout and the watercolour sheet, like that, look. There you go. Simple as that. And simply transfer through using a medium pressure. And what you'll end up with is something like that. There you go. Little note, before you take it away, make little markers around the outside edge like I've done there. At least then if you need to reposition this at any given time you can do. Using a putty eraser, let's give that a bit of a massage first. Very lightly dab. Don't rub or anything like that. Just dab that graphite. Make sure if you're going to use graphite back paper like this one here, that it's not the wax one. You don't want the wax version, because you'll find that very difficult to remove. This is just a graphite back paper, that's all it is. I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll pop a link down below for you if you're interested in looking for those. And also, if you need to know about using graphite back paper, I do have a little video on that as well. Okay, that one there, you know the one. Now I'm going to leave this slightly darker than I would normally do, because I want you to be able to see this on the camera. Now with all watercolours, what we need to do is start off with the lightest colour first of all. So we're going to go with a very kind of pale blue colour for that sky that's reflecting within the eye here. And we can see the reflection. This is where the pupil is, just around here. Actually peculiar pupils, aren't they, within horses, because they sort of spread out. So looking at where the highlight goes, it's probably about 3/4 of the way up the eye, isn't it? It's going to very lightly sketch that in because I forgot to transfer that over. So roughly about there, I would say, something like that. Looking at my half pans there, look, there's quite a lot of colours there, isn't there, as you can see. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my little colour checker cards, which I've got here. I've got quite an array of them. And I'm going to use those, what's my blue ones, to match these up to the reference photograph. So I can see something that's similar to the one I'm using. At the moment, the one that's very similar is probably French Ultramarine. Maybe the two, maybe French Ultramarine, those two there, look, and Phthalo Blue, just those two. If I match up to the reference photograph, you can see there's sort of a mixture between the two. Let's grab those first of all. So French Ultramarine, this one here, I'll pop that in this mixing bowl there, look. We don't need a great deal of this, do we? Make sure you spray your half pans a little bit before you start on the painting, so probably 10 minutes or so before. That'll soften those half pans up a little bit more. Just makes them much easier to mix. Grabbing a size 00 brush, or any small detail brush that you've got, what I want you to do is wet in the area around the reflection here for the blue area only. Grab some of your blue colour and we'll drop that one in straight away. There you go, look. Ooh, lovely rich blue. Nice and clean. Just drop it in like that. And what you can do, you can vary this a little bit more as well. So I'm going to put a little bit up there. I've got any water up there at the moment, but that's okay. I'm going to soften this down just with a damp, clean brush. Drop it about there. Grab some more of the phthalo blue, so it's slightly richer like that. I'm going to drop that in. Now that is rich. That's quite an intense blue, isn't it? Phthalo blue, intense blue, Windsor blue. Just so it varies the colour. I'll do the same again with some French Ultramarine there. Just a touch of that. And add that in. Vary that colour. Now we can see a hint of a bit of colour around here as well, but not much. Just going to paint in a line there, look. And also around here as well. Far too much paint there, but hey ho, could always be used to another painting, can't it? Give that a quick blast with the hairdryer from a distance and keep waving the hairdryer back and forth, but probably at least a couple of feet away. You don't want to burn that paper. Okay, and I'm back with you in a second. Now looking at the colour of the eye, it's more of a sort of browny, sienna-y colour, isn't it? I'm going to get a little bit, as I said, a burnt sienna. Pop that one in there. And I want this makes me more of a milky consistency to begin with. We can go watery. I'm going to go milky, I think. So a little bit thicker than tap water, but not creamy. Burnt umber, which is this one here. A little bit of that in there. It's nearly there, isn't it? But it's not quite rich enough. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just touch him a little bit. I'm not going to wash the brush out this time. Of Scarlet Lake. It's very strong. You see how strong that is already there? Mix it in. That just warms it up slightly. Only slightly though. We'll try that one. I know, a tiny amount of difference there, but not a lot. I'm going to go for size 4 brush, which is this one here. This is a Pan Art 1 Series 1102. My detail brush, by the way, just out of interest, is a Winsor & Newton Cobham Series 111. Damp clean brush. Then wet in all the areas where you can see this amber sort of colour, this browny amber colour. In other words, majority of the iris, isn't it? Apart from those blue areas. Saying that, there's a little bit showing through here, isn't there? And probably to there. Grab some colour. You ready? Drop it in. Drop it in. And if it's not rich enough, what we can do is warm it slightly more with a little bit of cadmium orange, but not much. This is the basic background colour, so the foundation wash is what we're looking at. And basically, fill it in. Don't worry too much about the pupil in the middle there, because we can fine tune that after we've painted the iris. I'm going to drop some of this now in here as well. Very lightly. I'm not too worried about the blue highlight around this area because I need to make sure we've got some of this colour behind the scenes. Take some off the brush if there's too much on there. And very carefully just go around the very edge of this. Just here. Leaving small dots and dashes in between. And that is the first wash on there. Payne's Grey. And you want this more of a creamy consistency this time around. Oh, it's getting everywhere, lot. Making a right mess. But have a bit of a clean up afterwards. Burnt Sienna. Just to warm that back up again. Clean brush. Make sure you wash out in some dirty water, then clean water. I've got a double pot here, which I tend to use. Burnt umber. That will do. Not a lot in there, is there? But there might be enough, we shall see. Right, everything's nice and dry. Back to the size 00. And what I'm going to do is use our very dark, rich brown there, look. And start to think about some of the details that we can see within the eye. Okay. Look at the angles, look at the shapes. Look at the way this curves down and around here. Oh, watch out for that water running off the end there, look. That will splodge on my painting if I'm not careful. So look at those angles as it works its way down. The same applies to the bottom as well. Very carefully. If you do find it awkward trying to get that sort of curve, especially at the bottom, turn the paper around and turn the photograph around as well. And you find just a natural arc of your hand and your wrist, like that will help. But in this case, for the camera, I'll try and do it the other way around. Just very carefully, very tentatively. Add in a fine line with the very tip of the brush, 2 hairs in air. I know, the great Bob Ross said that once, didn't he? All the way around. And the same above as well. Now this is quite dark up there, isn't it? But for now, let's just put a bit of a line there so we've got some form of a sort of distinction between where it's dark and where we've got the light of the eye showing through. Now we've got a separate line probably there, and another one. This is very dry, isn't it? May need a touch of water in that yet, we'll see. Another line there, so we've got a bit of a split line going on there. And the same as it works its way over the top of the eye here, look. Just to there. So basically what you're doing at the moment is outlining the eye. And then around the edge, got another section just there, just about visible, isn't it? Then bring that one down towards the corner of the eye. I can just about make out my pencil mark there. All the way down to there. Now my eyes are flitting back and forth every few seconds to that reference photograph. And because of that, I tend to remember what I'm looking at a bit more. And then go around all the main lines you can see, which I've already drawn out with that pencil. But very lightly and finely. Take your time, there's no rush. Look at those angles, look at the curves. Look at the shape of that eye as well. And you find that when you look at the eye, it's not quite level like that, is it? When you look from the two corners, that corner and that corner there, it's that sort of angle, as you can tell. You think, oh yeah. The more you look, the more you see. Okay, let's get some more of these outlines on the painting now, shall we? Now then, inside the eye, a little bit more water in there. It's starting to dry up very quickly today. Let's have a quick look in here, shall we? So we've got a bit of a gap just showing on this left-hand side here. See that little tiny gap there? Just about make it out. I'm going to fill this in. Just to here. This may need to be slightly darker than this yet. And all we're going to need to do for that is add a touch more Payne's Grey to that mix. In fact, I'll tell you what we could do. Why do we do that now? But only in one corner. So some Payne's Grey. Just in one corner there, look. Just so we've got a small amount of it. We can add that in. So it's slightly darker again. We can vary that mix. A little bit more Payne's Grey, less Payne's Grey, and so on. Within our mixing palette there. Look at the angle of this as well. You can see it comes out probably to about there. Alright. Just weaken that brown down a touch more now. Just probably to about there. And I'm going to add a touch more now, just inside the bottom of the eye. What I'm doing, I'm looking around the sections within the iris and trying to see where I can make out some of the details now. So there's a bit of a shadow coming in. That's what it feels like. I know it's not, but that's certainly what it looks like. Then we've got the patterns coming in from there on. Before I start painting those little lines in, what I need to do is blend this side out a little bit as well. Make sure you got the thickness right, the width right, something like that. Should just about do it. Like a bit more of a darker colour there now. Quickly switch to our size 4. Dampen, clean water, just beyond that area there, look. And then tickle that in with tiny, tiny circles like so. If it's not enough, we can always add a little bit more paint in there. That'll gently blend that area there. So if we get a little bit more paint, there you go, look. Show you what I mean. Just touch it in like that. That sort of blends it inwards, doesn't it? Okay, switching between brushes here. Think about that curve as it comes down. Then blend that part out as well. Now give that a quick blast with the hairdryer, then we can start filling in the rest of the areas at the same time, can't we? You know I said the more you look, the more you see. I'm going to go back into our burnt sienna, burnt umber and scarlet lake mix. I'm going to start to stipple tiny little marks within the iris to create texture within there before we start kind of painting over our darker colour for all the kind of patterns we can see in there. Think about anything between those areas so you can see really kind of pinch into that reference photograph on an iPad, tablet, computer screen, whatever, mobile phone. Then you see what I mean? There's a lot of tiny little marks in there. So do this with our lovely warm rich colour that we've got. And this will add more interest within the eye. Just by tiny, tiny stipples, tiny dots, throughout the entirety of the eye. Obviously avoiding the pupil and the highlights at the top there. But you know what I said about the highlights earlier on is that if you do cover it over by mistake, don't worry. Because we'll be using some white paint later on. Some watercolour white. To add some highlights in there anyway. Now painting something like this is really good fun, isn't it? Especially when it's a wildlife subject. Now I've got well over 150 other watercolour wildlife subjects on my Patreon channel. I go through every single video right from the start all the way through to the end for you, show you how to do them as well. So if you fancy being spotted for choice when looking for a wildlife subject to paint, have a look at the link in the description down below for my Patreon channel. Hopefully I'll see you there. Now one thing that is very good about watercolour is that even though I'm using the same mix, the same consistency, same colour, every layer will get richer and richer and richer. And see, this is quite evident now, isn't it, around this area here. Same colour, nothing different to what I've already put on there. It's every single layer. When I'm loading this, I'm kind of rolling it like that, or loading it, rolling it, giving it a tap or two. I sometimes do that to create finer marks. So there's less paint on the brush, basically. Remember, we're trying to create sort of a realistic feel to this. So what we need to do, once we've got these on, very lightly, soften it, then dry it again. Then we can start thinking about adding more details over the top of that, those kind of curved lines we can see using that darker mix, which again is just about dried up. Oh well, never mind. I'm also going to add in just a touch of this brown colour, take most of the paint off. I'm just hitting the corner of the screen here, just literally tapping on some kitchen roll here. Add a few tiny darker marks in there, but not many, not many. You don't darken this eye down, not really. You want this lovely warm colour to show through. Just a few, and that breaks up that colour just a tiny amount. That's it, that's plenty. Then lightly soften with a damp, only damp, clean brush. I think I used my size 4 for that. Take most of that water off, like that lot. Then using the side of the brush, very lightly, barely touching the paper, to soften those details a touch. Not all the way. You don't want to blend them together, that's for sure. Rinse that brush out. Do the same again. You've got to keep doing that, otherwise you're transferring paint from one place to another. Look at the amount of detail we've got in there now. Okay. Quick blast with a hairdryer, and then we'll start adding more details over the top. Back to the size 00 brush. Bit of water in there again. And it's time to paint in the lovely curves we can see within the eye. Now if there's any areas which are too dark, too deep in colour, we can always lift paint off anyway. Okay, here we go. Time to start looking deep into that eye. Deep, deep. Now the first one we can see, we're not going to paint them exactly the same as they are, they don't need to be. First one we can see is this one here, leaving a slight gap in between the lower part of the eyelid and where the eye just goes into the socket there, or behind that lower eyelid. Just a tiny amount there, look. Just I've got my hand around this way, I've turned my body around to kind of get the angle just about right. We've got some other ones all the way through here, so just look carefully at that photograph again. I know I keep going on about that. And look to see where you can see these marks here and where they are. As I said, you don't have to paint them exactly the same, as long as they're similar, that's what matters. Nobody's going to be really comparing the reference photograph to your painting or vice versa, are they? Of course not. Of course not, other than yourself. Now some of these lines are thicker. They're all curved. They're gentle curved that way. A little bit, not completely. For example, there's one here, just below the pupil here, which goes around, trying to see where it goes. kind of looking at that photograph every few seconds again, and you can see where it goes like that. So be very careful to begin with. Just tentatively just put a very fine line in, then you can widen that line where you need it to be widened. And also you can darken it as well if you need to. And it's not all the same thickness either. For example, it might be a little bit thicker there, a little bit richer. The same on the end there, a little bit richer on the end. Just varying the way it looks, that's all you're doing. Gradually building up the details within this eye. Look around the eye, see where it's got to go. Take your time. I know I said it before, but it's very important. There's no rush. And add those details in. You may need to lightly soften it again thereafter, but again, like I did with the dots, very, very lightly. So following the shapes as you do so. Looking around the top here, I'm going to get some of my blue again. Drop this in. Into a dark colour. I'm going to add some dark colour into this as well. Just down to the side here. Now this is fairly dark though, isn't it? But yeah, we've got all the light areas in between, haven't we? So you've got to try and judge this just right. So I'm going to get some of my brown colour here, though, which is hardly in your left eye now. Drop it into the corner of the blue. Just about make it out there, I know. Be careful, it's going to turn green. Which it will. A little bit more phthalo blue in there, I think. So phthalo blue. A little bit of Payne's grey. In there as well. I want it more blue than grey. Like that. We'll try that one first of all. That's not too bad. Like a deep blue, isn't it, there? A bit more phthalo. Try that. And we can use that to start pulling down some of the eyelashes that we've got there. These are reflections on the eyelashes, aren't they? Just across the eye here. Bring them down. That's going to go over the top of that lovely kind of amber colour we've already painted. Look at the angles he's got as well. They do vary, don't they? A little bit more. Don't overload that brush, otherwise you find your lines are too thick. Bring these lines out. Not too many now. I think that's probably just about enough. Then that's ready to receive our dark colour in there. Now there's one area which is a little bit too much. So what I can do, clean, damp, size 00 brush. Lift off a little bit of paint like that, then lift. And you find that when you lift it, we've got one tiny little mark here, look, which I've just lifted off. And you can do the same again just there. Lift. Grab some of our lovely rich colour, drop that in between, and you would never know that has been lifted off, would you? There you go. Okay. Now then, a very, very light blend is all we need now. Same procedure. Clean brush, take most of the water off, and use the side of the brush, following the lines that we can see the shapes that's in there. And very, very lightly blend it, because these will move. They'll blend very, very easily. You just want to lightly soften them back a touch. Just knock them back. Then whilst that's drying, just paint in this area down here, the same procedure as before. Just use the colours you've already got mixed. You may need to add a little bit more, just a touch more of the Scarlet Lake, just in this corner around there. But other than that, it's all the same colours. Now for our dark colour, I've got a mixture here of French ultramarine and burnt sienna, and that's to a creamy consistency. And you can see how dark that is. It depends if you want more brown than blue. In this case, I want just a touch more blue than brown. Size 00 brush. Let's get some details on, shall we? Look at the pupil. Let's paint that in first of all, so we've been kind of itching to get that painted, really have. Look at the shape you can see in there as well. It sort of disappears, doesn't it, the higher up it goes. So grab some of this lovely dark colour in there. Oh, stay to my brush down. Oh, I'll have to wash that out in a minute. Fill this pupil in. And you can just about make out the shape in there as well, can't you? Kind of comes down a little bit down below here. Goes up a touch, down a touch, up a touch. It doesn't have to be precise, it really doesn't. Again, as long as it's similar to that reference photograph, that's all you're after. Kind of goes up a little bit around here. It's a bit of a point. Then tapers out down this side here. Like that. And there's a lot of kind of blurred edges on this section, isn't there, as we can see. So what I'm going to do, clean damp brush, very lightly just blend out the edge, not all of it, just this edge here initially, and taper it out. Give it a few stipples here and there, like that. Just blends it away, doesn't it? Maybe just a touch around here now. Already now it's starting to come to life, isn't it? It looks like a bat. It does, doesn't it? We've got a bat in the eye. It's a batty horse. So above the eye, we'll do all this area down here in a minute. This is really, really dark. So we can fill this area in with our black colour now. And the same as you work your way over the top. Now, I've gone too far over that area there. Well, not too good. I can put a little bit of a highlight in there anyway. And this sort of gently curves out a little bit of a bend in, just a touch of a bend in, and back out again. And then we've got the section down here. I call that the tear duct. Probably is actually, I don't know, you tell me. Put it in the comments down below, let me know. In this section here, you can see there's different areas within there as well, so very carefully, look around, see what you can see, and fill them in. Using small stipples and scumbles as well for the lower section within here. Reducing the amount of colour, or black in this case, the higher you go. That creates more of a kind of gradated feel in there, doesn't it? Just a section down here which I need to blend. Sort of tapers out. We've got an area around here as well. which I need to kind of fill in places as well. Just there. Then that sort of goes to there. Now down here, what I want to do is start to fill in these areas now with marks and stipples and scumbles. That's all I'm doing within these two lines here, scumbling. Scumbling. Quite a nice word, that is. That can be the word of the day. Then a few little marks as well within this lighter area just above. Just here, look. Breaking up that line just a touch. Tiny amounts of paint on the tip of the brush. Break it up. And the same around here now. Little scumballs, think about the curves and the little marks here. Also consider the lighter area just above it. And do the same on the top of the eye as well. Press it down this side. And then add a little bit of colour to the top of the eye, maybe even a little bit underneath as well, but we don't want to go too much into the details because we're painting the eye today, not so much the horse fur. So it's very straightforward, as you can see. Just dampen down the area first of all, preferably with cleanish water. That's not that clean, is it? I know. But it's clean enough, it'll do. Grab some of your orange colour. I know it's nearly orange now, isn't it? Drop a little bit of that in first. Now, I'm trying to see where that goes actually, you know. Around there. Now, the more you wet this paper, the more you'll start to blur your pencil marks. Then you might have to redraw them in or try and work out where they are again. So just bear that in mind when you're starting to wet things down and cover them up with paint. You think, oh, where was that pencil mark again? Add a little bit of colour over the top of the eye. Same colour will do for now. Yeah, of course it will. It'll do. It's a study at the end of the day. That's what we're doing here. It gets grey down there, doesn't it? So what we can do, we can dampen this area down here a touch like that. Grab some of our bluey black. Just a touch like that down the side of the palette. Add some of this in as well. Mix it in. Like that. That sounded serious, hadn't it? Mix it in. Do as you're told. You can tell I'm not a very serious person, am I? Bit more of that over there. Just a touch more. And that's grey down there. Carry on working your way around. The same down here now. Dampen down the area and just replicate what we just done above. We can see it's quite pale down there, isn't it? So ease off that colour. Then once it's dry, all you need to do is fill in this area above the eye using your black colour. Fill it in, but also look at the direction these lines go as well. You can just about make out the individual lines within the eyelashes just above here, can't you? You can just about make them out there. So fill them in, but do that in the right direction. Notice the way they change direction as they go around there, lot. So you can put a few odd reference marks in first of all, like that. Kind of guide you on your way. And then start to fill them in with small, tiny directional marks. Now, even though we're not talking about fur today, or horsehair in this case, what I wanted to do is give you some basic idea on how to create it. Now, this is just initial layers, and I can go layer upon layer upon layer and get it look a little bit more realistic than this. But to do that, what you need to do is spend a lot of time doing it, using your size 00 brush, applying the lines very finely like this lot, by working with a basic wet and wet wash behind the scenes, so the foundation wash first of all. Then the first layer of detail over the top, which is basically what I've got on here. Give it a dry, and then put another layer over the top, and you probably want 3, maybe even 4 layers of detail. Kind of make it really stand out and look realistic. And you've also got to keep an eye on the direction of the lines, the length of those lines, and also the curvature of those lines. So they're really curved, aren't they? So that's just some basic idea. I'm going to lightly soften that, then we'll add the highlights within the eye. Now, watercolour white, I've got some in my palette here. Put a little bit of water below it. And you want to make sure that the white that you buy is opaque. Not semi-opaque, not semi-transparent, nothing like that. Just opaque. You can use white gouache if you wanted to. You can do that instead. But this is actually watercolour paint, which I'm using today. And there's a variety of different ones on the market. I do have a list on different watercolour paints which I recommend. And you'll find a link site to give us some general idea of the ones I tend to look at and also use. Now, we can see a main highlight around here. I'm going to splodge that in straight away. Take most of that white off. That's better. Then flick out a few little lines here and there. Again, there's too much white on the brush. You're flicking out just a few fine little starburst lines. Like that. Already, it's adding life to that eye. Just by adding just one little tiny highlight. I know, probably got far too much watercolour white in my mixing palette there. But again, I can reuse it. I can re-wet it when it dries. That's the beauty about watercolours, isn't it? It really is. Then look around, and see where you think it's needed. Now, this area here has nearly disappeared, so I'm going to add the highlight back in by just painting the white over the top. When this is dry, we'll add some of our blue colour mixed over the top of that. The good thing about watercolour white, it doesn't take too long to dry. Now I can just see tiny highlight just there. Barely see it. I've also got the top of the eye just kind of shining through around there. Let's say I'm going to add that back in. So I completely covered that up earlier on. But barely touching that paper again. Just skimming the paper. And just a touch around there. A little bit of a dot just there. The more you look, the more you see again. And also just there as well. Now, what I can see, if I weaken this down a little bit, and take some of the paint off, I've got a bit of a mark just here. Now the good thing is when you water down the watercolour white, so it will fade a little bit. It could fade as it dries. And I can just touch that over a little bit of colour afterwards, like that. And also a few little tiny marks as well, where the eyelashes come over the top here, and you can only just make them out, can't you? Just a few tiny ones, little stipples and dots here and there. Again, this will fade because it's a weaker version. It's more of a sort of milky version of white, really, as in the consistency. It's not milk, of course. Okay, now these two areas have dried. So let's get some of our blue colour. You know the one now, which is that French ultramarine and what was it, phthalo blue, I think that. And one light pass of blue. That's it. Do the same on the other one. One very light pass. If you go over it again, it will start to fade. You can move that white. So you have to allow it to dry before you put another layer over the top. Now if you do fancy having a go at painting the cat's eye, this time a sand cat, beautiful blue eyes they really have, I'll pop a link to the top right hand corner for you so you can have a look at that one, okay? I'll see you there.